high school career.
It's fair.
At least that's what I did. I
Oh.
still failed. Just about. 3. All right. Let's do this, baby. Howdy, and welcome to Voyage's Path, season 2, episode 1. That is what we've agreed on. Thank you. Today I have Ahmed with me.
Hi.
Kevin is not here. He has other things to do, which I respect.
Kind of vague, but
He's taking care of things. That's
taking care of business.
Taking care of business.
Okay.
Every step of the way. I hope you all had a good holiday, and I hope you all had a good start to the new year. Not much to do still because COVID, but
Right.
hopefully you've taken this as a fresh start by
Mhm.
listening to both of our both of our episodes, and the most recent one being about accountability. Hopefully you're taking that into consideration, right? And becoming accountable for your life. Can I get a yes?
You talking to me?
Yeah,
There's a
I'm looking
camera
right,
there.
I'm looking at you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, it doesn't sound like a yes. All right. Previously, like we said, we talked about accountability, being accountable for your choices and decisions in life, and the 2 major decisions that you'll be making in your life are the people you surround yourself with and the direction your life is going. We already talked about accountability, so if you want to refresh yourself, season 1, episode 2. And short of it all is that it was you are accountable for what you need to do in life, and whatever is happening in your life is on your shoulders. So if things kind of suck, you have yourself to blame. So you are also
to an extent.
To an extent. I just kind of like to be a little extreme
Sure.
with it. But yeah, if your life sucks and if it's in a rut, usually you are the source of that. And there are ways to get out from under whatever poor situation you're in by taking accountability
Right.
and and learning how to get out of it. All right, good deal. So, the relationships that I talked about, the people you have in your life, are what we're talking about today. The people you are surrounded with via your friends, your romantic relationships, your family, your coworkers, spouse, what have you. Those are the most influential choices in your life, next to the direction. The reason why I would say that relationships are most important because they are also most influential, and depending on who you surround yourself with. Like if I surround myself with a bunch of bad seeds, I myself will be a bad seed. And the sooner I separate myself from said bad seeds, I will no longer be a bad seed. And that is going to affect my world almost immediately. And now we will get into direction of life next episode. But this one, we're going to identify relationships that you have and determine the influence that they have in your life. For me, that was my second step in becoming a better person, if you want to say that, through self-development.
Maturing.
Maturing, growing old, which
Older.
I'm doing very well. Like fine wine, one would say. And before we dig a little deeper into this episode, keep in mind that today we are talking about relationships, external relationships. But the most important one, especially when it comes, since we're all about self-development and changing yourself from the inside out, you are trying to prioritize the relationship with yourself. That whole cliche of dating yourself right now. No, that
I've never heard.
You've never heard that?
No.
I'm sure
I don't.
someone.
You
if-
said bad seeds. The term is rotten apples. I don't know if you know what
Never-
the correct terms are.
Man. Anyway, Those
Go
you
on.
get the gist.
Yeah, sure.
Get the gist. Someone
Mhm.
out there knows exactly what I mean. But regardless, the relationship you have with yourself is the relationship that we're trying to cultivate. So that's what self-development is
Mhm.
focusing on yourself and your health and maintaining healthy boundaries and habits. So, um, a little quote that I want to put in here.
Mhm.
I believe Denzel Washington gave this one. If you surround yourself with 5 confident people, you are the 6th. If you surround yourself with 5 intelligent people, you are the 6th. If you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. If you're around 5 idiots, you are the 6th.
Mhm.
So that is I found that and I was like, spot on. Awesome. You have any thoughts on that one? That
It's a
reminded
good
me of-
quote. I mean, you know, if you surround yourself with 5 good-looking people,
Still, you might not be the
no, but
6th,
you know,
okay.
it's all about attitude.
It's all about the dude, dude.
Mhm.
All right, so Chambriel, Miss Lovely Lady, would you please pop up the dartboard? So we are going to talk about relationships using this dartboard.
Mhm.
Da-da-da-da. Right there. And as you can see, it's pretty simple.
Mhm.
We have the bullseye, and that is the closest friends and families that you'll have.
Right.
The second ring are family and friends who are just good, healthy relationships.
Mhm.
The next one, we have coworkers, and in parentheses it says friendly. We will dig into that. This is just a basic one.
An overview.
Yeah, so just to keep in mind, it's kind of friendly, coworker-esque things. And the next ring is the same deal, but professional. And then the outer ring, you have acquaintances.
Mhm.
So to preface, before we eat this up,
Mhm.
this is a foundation to go off of. You should go home and make your own chart. You should go home and take time to think. Because really, all of this stuff is achieved through how you are thinking. A lot of times things won't just snap into what it needs to be.
Right.
So if you're serious about wanting to be a better person, if
Mhm.
you are actually trying to voyage forward on this voyager's path,
Uh-huh.
then you need to actually take just 30 minutes today. Just today, take 30 minutes to think about what we're talking about today.
Mhm.
And then hopefully in a couple weeks, if you do that consistently, maybe every other day to ease it into your schedule,
Mhm.
then becomes 45 minutes. Then maybe an hour. And you can do that while you're walking your dog. You can do that while you're doing the dishes.
Mhm.
That's essentially meditation, which we'll get into eventually, but meditation isn't just zenning out. It's just focused thought,
Mhm.
essentially. That's just something I'm pooping out right there. So,
For the most part, we just want you to actually start thinking about it, you know. If you want to change, you know, the people you hang out with and oh, these are some rotten apples that I'm hanging out with and I don't want to be the 6th rotten
Bad
apple.
seeds.
Sure. But you got to make the decision of whether you want to change that. So maybe start off by just thinking about it at first.
think about who's a bad seed in your life. Trademark.
Mhm.
None of this stuff is black and white. None of this stuff is going to work. X will work for one person and Y is going to work for another because every person has a lot of different factors in their life.
Right.
Ahmed is not Tony, and Tony is not Ahmed,
As much as he'd like to be.
as much as I'd love to be. So keeping that in mind, if I say something and you're like, well, that's stupid, well, it might just not work for you, but it might work for Jerry down the street. So
Mhm.
try to be open about it. Maybe not working for you because you're just closed-minded. If you take the time to think, maybe it might be something you need to hear. These rings are going to symbolize the stage of a relationship, essentially. To explain that, when you meet a stranger,
Mhm.
you're just not gonna tell them your most deepest secret.
Mhm.
No, you tell that to your close friends. That's what-
Childhood trauma.
Yeah, you you don't just expose that to people. You shouldn't.
Mm-mm.
People in like the retail business, myself included, that happens though. Like people
Really?
just tell you the most intimate things. I'm like, oh my god. But a quick little note: the closer to the center of the dartboard, the more influence these relationships will have in your life.
Mhm.
So that is why a stranger shouldn't have as much influence in your life compared to your mom, depending on the relationship you have with
Right.
your mom. But if Ahmed needs me, I am going to stop what I'm doing and go help Ahmed. If
Mm-hmm.
this stranger needs me, probably not.
No.
If I can lend him $5, I'll lend him $5 or get him like a McDonald's.
Well-
But it depends on the stranger, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And another thing is, this isn't concrete. This isn't like something you have to do. You can add a ring or two. You can change the category. Like the last ring doesn't have to be acquaintances. You can add another one that's just strangers or something like that. This is just for you, to handle it. And because for the most part, these are handling your relationships. And like we said earlier, not everyone is the same person. So that's just something to think about.
yeah, if anything, it is better to start off with more rings and be less general with your relationships and your rings. For me, I did this almost 3 years ago, and at this point, I only have 5 rings because I kind of have that in my head already and can access that mental
Right.
space where I can move people and know the influence that they have in my life. But yes, like Ahmed said, add rings, take rings away. Ideally, you want to add more when you're starting off.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
Good. All right. So we're going to start off. As we're going through, I'm also going to tell you what I've done. I didn't put my own dartboard up here. I felt it would be better to just have a basic one that you can
Right.
look and go off of and change yourself, instead of having to look through my own and then try to decipher that. So the inner ring is where we will start. That has the close friends and family. For me, I have Ahmed,
Right.
and I have my dad,
Mhm.
and I have my dogs. That's it. Because my dogs hear all the sad things of my life. But
They don't understand it, but they'll be there for you.
they are people that I am closest with. They are people I can trust my life with blindly. They have earned my trust and my
Mhm.
respect, and we've gone through enough together that
Mhm.
the bond has been
Solidified.
solidified. Good word.
Yeah,
Word. Thank you.
no problem.
That one's pretty simple. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because it should be pretty self-explanatory. You should have the least amount of people in the center. You should have, excluding my dogs, I got 2.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 human beings in there. You should probably not have any more than 3 or 4.
And it depends on the
Maybe.
person, but you shouldn't have like your entire
20.
soccer team as like your
Yeah.
closest friends. That's
Yeah.
not how it works. These
No.
are the closest people in your life.
The OGs. as
I'm not
the
gonna
kids
say that.
The second ring, you have family and friends again.
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm saying family and friends, because that's really, you shouldn't have coworkers. Coworkers, there's a fine line between a coworker and a friend, which we'll dig
Right.
into. But again, just family and friends, people that you've bonded with and enjoy time with and love. You don't fake around them. There's no facade, but they're not at that deep core level. For
Right.
me, the 2 guys I was talking to you about on the car ride here, my
Mhm.
friends Toon and Justin, shout out. They are in that second ring for me. I'm open with them. I'm honest. I'm vulnerable. I listen to their advice. I try to give my advice. I will give what I can when I can. Something to keep in mind as we're going along. I know another thing I'm throwing out there is T, time, energy, and attention. That's a good way to judge the relationship. How much time you're going to give, how much energy you're going to give, and attention you will give towards this person, this relationship, because those 3 things you will never ever get back. You give it and it's gone. So, in the short of it, of course, depending on how you give it, it will, like your son. If you give your son your time, energy, and attention, they should
Yeah.
work out, and you'll
eventually.
reap the rewards essentially. But I guess that's a wrong way to put it. Reap the rewards. Regardless.
Sounds like you're taking advantage.
Yeah. Regardless, that's what I mean. But dry and short, you usually don't get that stuff back.
No.
And that's how you can judge a relationship and judge the character of a person. So for me, that second ring, I give like 95% of my time, energy, and attention to these people. And it's undevoted. It's genuine. So I'm also going to give an example of someone from either the outer ring, and in this case, Kevin. Kevin was the outer ring person for a while, and this is an example of someone who can move up to that second ring. Kevin, he is a special situation. We knew each other since 8th grade, but we weren't typically close. We weren't.
No.
I wouldn't just tell him my biggest secrets right off the gate. The reason why I have him on this podcast is he has shown a level of character that I find admirable, and I want to surround myself with that kind of person. And I told myself I'm not going to make this podcast with a stranger. I'm not going to make this podcast with someone who isn't in my second ring. So he is. It was kind of a here you've been tested. My dad tested him. He works for my dad. So through seeing how he worked with my dad and how my dad felt about him, I was like, okay, waters have been tested. And of course, I knew him a little bit as well, but you never really know someone at all times. So he could have been a serial killer. But
Hopefully not.
Hopefully. But he got approved, and I was like, great, love it. And I talked to him, and he was open. We were open, had a good conversation, and that's how we got moved up to the second ring. Now that shouldn't be everyone. That was just, again, a special situation. I was building a podcast, had to meet a few requirements. He met him, got him in there.
And for the next level, like, we mentioned, the closest people are your closest friends and family, and then we mentioned, friends and family for the second. Those are just friends and family that aren't as close. Like, if you have a grandmother, for the most part, depending on how your family life is, she's not going to be as close to you as, like, your dad or your mom or, like, your brother. And these are just, family members and friends that you're still close with, just not the closest. That's what we mean by that.
Yeah. Amen. Good one. That's I do have an example of someone being moved off of the ring, because that can also happen. That should happen. As you grow, you should constantly adapt to your surroundings, and you should take a look at what you're doing and evolve with whatever point in time you're in. And what I had to do when I got back to Texas, the first thing I did, the very first night I was in Texas, I snuck in my best friend and his girlfriend at the time in my Nana's house through the window. She didn't know anything. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We were just smoking pot in my room and just having a jolly old time. That is, I've found out through help with my dad, that's not how I should be spending my time, as you may wonder. Now, what I had to do, that wasn't the only situation. Him and I, we were friends since 8th grade, and he was what I called a best friend and what I believed was a best friend. But honestly, I had no true definition of what a friend was. He was just someone who I smoked pot with. And that relationship dwindled, and based off of getting crossfaded and having a good old time with the good old boys. So my dad was like, hey, that's not something you should be doing. And I said, okay, fine. And I cut that tie. And so Chase just kind of fell off of my list of people I talked to. And I secluded myself. And he's not the only person. I did that to a good amount of people. And I'm sure they were confused and or hurt, which I am sorry. But I had to look out for numero uno. That's kind of how you have to do that thing. So he is an example. And hopefully in your life, if you have people in your life who are not productive or aren't, who are not helping you, and they're more harm than they are helpful, you should think about this a little more today after you hear this, and think back, okay, who might that be? And then kind of put some space there.
And you don't have to take friends off the circle. Like, obviously, in certain examples, if they're more harmful to you, then yeah, definitely do that. If they're just going to hold you back, then you definitely should. But, there's a thing called moving up the circle and then moving down the circle. If I know one person, we're not as close as we used to, so I'm probably not going to share as much secrets with him. So, you can still be friends with him. Just don't, share your deep secrets. And he's just moving down the list just because things kind of dwindled. But, if time comes and if the person really is toxic, like not, bullying you, but obviously being a bad influence, then you got to make the decision to just take them out.
Don't forget about that T, ladies.
Not murder, not take out murder.
No, that's not. Well, I didn't even think about that. Got to take them out. No, but that T, if it goes back to time, energy, and attention, you don't have to totally remove them from your life, the dartboard, but you can put them down to the third ring or the fourth ring, and we'll get into what those mean later. But you can put them there and you'll put more space, meaning you give less of your time, energy, and attention. They're kind of in this stage where you're watching them and they have less influence in your life. Because again, like I said before, the closer to the center, the more influence in your life. So the farther away they are from the center, the less influence, the less havoc they may wreak with their poor decisions. So keeping that in mind, if you need a breather, push them down a few pegs and you'll be good. Just watch them from afar and help if you need to. Depending on the situation, but we don't know. I'm not going to come up with one right now. Maybe later. On anything to add before we move on to the next ring?
Nope, I'm good.
Lovely. Third ring. So here we have your coworkers, but also peers. Peers, I guess that's the best way. Teachers, mentors, other
Fellow students.
peers, right? That's what.
Right. But you know. You were giving examples and I wanted to help. It can be different types of peers.
Yeah, fellow students. All right, anyway. So for that, where I am at right now in my life, I have my friends I play D&D with. I have my friends I play Magic.
Can you elaborate D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Right, okay.
It's a role-playing game. Many people know what that is, I'm sure.
Okay, but not everyone knows every single, like,
there's
BRB, D&D,
there's also
TTY.
A group I play Magic the Gathering with, which is a card game. Then I have MTG. EDH is what I play. Then I have two friends in Wiley, and I got my two friends, or I guess one friend here and one handling business, Kevin.
Yeah, busy.
That's really all I got. And I'm not necessarily in the point and place in my life where I care to have a whole lot of other friends. Don't really need that. And so for me, my third ring is kind of this stage where I just have coworkers because that's where I'm at. That's all I have. I have to have relationships with my coworkers. And so we're going to talk about the friendly one, the third ring. These coworkers are coworkers that I work with, and I'm glad I get to work with them. I like to say relationships you have to have because I have to work.
Right.
I have to have this job done, whatever it may be. In my case, for instance, I'm a porter. That's one of my jobs. And so I lift things. I'm also porter/cashier. So I work with these people. If I'm a butthole to these people, life is going to suck and work is going to suck. So you should never be a butthole to people, especially if you work with them. But in the third ring, these people I am nice to because I want to be nice because they're fun people. They're great. I love hanging out with them. I love working with them. But I've learned enough times that I just keep coworker relationships a coworker relationship. Yes, if something happens and we become friends, sure, but I usually not going to be me.
Like if you're friendly towards a coworker, that could eventually develop to like a friendship.
Yeah.
But, maybe it might not be the brightest idea to go out with them.
Yeah, because then, friendships turn into romantic relationships at times. And this for me, I'm just using coworkers. But that's high school. That's how you get friends is high school. School. You also have clubs like sports outside of school. You will have any other hobby or works or shops or classes you do, like smithing and stuff, that you form bonds and relationships with other people. Something to take note here in this third and fourth ring is these relationships usually are built through a goal. So if you are in school, or we just use work. If you work, the goal is to get the job done. That's why you have this relationship. You probably wouldn't have that relationship if you didn't work there. And so now you have to maintain it. But the third ring, for me, I maintain it, but I'm glad I get to maintain it because they're fun people.
Right.
That's like, boom, easy. From there, just my examples. I have a coworker, Devin. She's a fun, bubbly girl. We get along swimmingly, and that's it. She does awesome at her job, and she's taught me a lot and helped me through, and I love working with her. But that's probably where that's gonna stay, because that's how I am mentally. Yeah. Next one, I put down you. I put down Ahmed for my example of someone who moved up from there, because we were friends in high school, and then we became besties till the resty.
Yeah.
Right.
Junior high.
Yep. Yes.
I don't think we're as close as I thought we were.
And an example of moving down, I put down family. Family is a good one. Well,
Depending on your situation.
usually distant family in this case, because we were talking, family and friends can easily go in the second ring, but like I now have cousins after being adopted. I have cousins. I didn't have cousins before, but I'm
Right.
assuming, if you had distant cousins and they are a junkie, it's good to just kind of not
Yeah.
be with them.
Associated.
Yeah. But if you have a distant cousin and they're like a nice person,
Mhm.
yeah, great. You can talk with that person, but you just either don't have the time or they don't have the time to make that a deeper connection. So that's kind of where I've sat with the third ring. Do you have anything to add or
For
dissect?
friendly?
Yeah, the friendly
Well, I
one.
mean, for an example, for like students, is like for example, in college, you probably hang out, or just high school, even you're learning the teacher, you're learning the class, and there's other students, and obviously now it's different with everything being transitioned to online because of COVID. But back then you sit next to someone we all make jokes, have some fun, and then I need the notes from yesterday. Well, here you go. But that relationship might not even develop as much as you want it to or as it should. Like, that'll probably just stay at that certain class. In fact, there are so many students and classes that you may not even see them ever again. And,
Yep. That's something I thought about. Like I'd be sitting in school and like I'm never gonna see this person again. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes I was like, oh.
yeah, especially from high school to college, people leave, people stay. Just depends.
Yep. All right. Cool. Lovely. So now on to the fourth ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the fourth ring. We kind of delved into that just a bit. We peeked into that one with some of our examples, but it's pretty simple. It's just like a tier below. Well, obviously, it's a ring below the third ring. But these are coworkers, peers, mentors, teachers that you keep strictly professional.
Right.
Again, relationships you have to have,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. It's not like I've had to work with people that I don't necessarily enjoy working with, but they will never know that because why would I do that? That's like what's the term in your own pool? You make a mess in your own pool. I can't say the entire saying because there's a bad word in it. You never heard that one either?
You have some
What
weird
the heck?
metaphors and expressions, man.
Really? Okay. Well, what it means is, if you're in a pool, you don't want to use you shouldn't take a number 2 in the pool because that's gross.
Is that the expression
That's
or is
the-
that
yeah.
common sense?
No, well, both, honestly. But the expression is like you don't want to poop in the pool, right? Don't poop in your own pool. I think that might be wrong.
I think
as I'm saying it now, it might be wrong. But
you don't want to make matters worse for yourself.
yeah, because
If you're going to work with someone, don't be a jerk to them, and then they won't be a jerk to you, and
Yeah.
then you can both do your job like you're supposed to.
Thank you.
Let's avoid the pooping in the pool
Well,
thing.
that's a saying, man. A good one for that, which I believe I said this in the first episode.
Mhm.
I refer to playing the game. So if you work with someone and they are a butthole and you just don't like the person outside of work, good. You don't have to have a relationship outside of work. You need to get the job done.
Mhm.
And in this case, if I'm a cashier and I work next to a butthole who's lazy, actually no, I got a better example. I worked at Studio Movie Grill. Everyone gets paid the same. It's this theater, which is awesome. I loved it. I loved working there. But my job was cleaning the theaters. There are 8 theaters. They sit like 200-ish people, and when they get sold out, you have to go in with the group of guys, and you send them certain places, and you got to go clean up these theaters. That's one part. The other part is you run the food, you drop off the food to the theater and the drinks to the theater. And that can be hard. Sure, it can be tough. But everyone gets paid the same amount of money. I mean, if you train someone, you get like 50 more cents an hour, but really, like, that's nothing.
Right.
So everyone's getting paid the same.
Mhm.
I would make an effort to work hard because I liked working there, and that was kind of my job. I was the director, so I had to say, okay, go clean this theater, go get this theater, I'll get this theater break. There would be other people who are just there, and they getting paid the same amount of money as me. They would maybe run a few trays of food, and they would lollygag, and they would go hide in theaters. And I mean, I can't really do too much. I didn't know I could do much at the time. That was just poor leadership to a degree. But looking back, I see that now. But then I was livid with these people because they were just getting paid the same amount as me to do much less work.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not let them know that. I have to work with these people in order to make my job easier. So there are tactics I ended up doing, ways to get them to work, some ways of motivation. But regardless, if you made a big scene about it, made a big deal about it, you are going to, I'm trying to think of a term you may know, bump elbows with people. You know that one? Rub people the wrong way. You're just going to
Sure.
fluff the feathers.
Why not? Yeah,
right?
Why not?
Okay. You're just going to make things bad, like you said. You make matters worse for yourself.
Mhm.
So don't
And in,
play the game.
Yeah.
That's essentially what that.
Mhm.
That's one way to take it.
And in that example, like, oh, if you have a coworker that's not doing what they're supposed to, you don't want to make their matters worse by like cussing them out or getting pissed at them. But you should still do. Oh, you got to do your own share. It really helps out a lot and stuff like that. That doesn't mean you do nothing. It just means don't make the situation worse.
Yeah, and even in like high school, if you have to sit in a class with a person for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
if you insult the person and then they turn up to be like a big old bully, you're just kind of stuck with that. That's not going to be fun.
No.
So don't be a bully, or else you'll get bullied. Play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Trademark. All right. Do you have anything to add before we move on to the?
No.
All right. Great. The next one here is the outer ring, and this one is quite simple.
Right.
It's acquaintances, and I believe the definition of acquaintance is someone you don't know too well. I don't quote me on that, but that's
You know of their existence.
yeah. You know of their you know them, but not much.
You know of them, but you don't know them.
Yeah, you know them. You don't know them.
Yeah. You gotta emphasize it.
And so those are definitely those are strangers. Those are friends of friends. I had to end up taking these friends and people that I called friends, and these are people that I went to kindergarten. I had kindergarten with these people in 5th grade, 6th grade, and these two friends in our friend group while in Wiley, they got married, and they weren't too close to me, but they were close to my friends in the second ring, and Justin and Toon, and they don't make the best choices. As I was watching them grow and develop, I was like, these aren't people I want to surround myself with at all times because of the choices and actions they take. So I definitely, when I reconnected with them after all this, after kind of a couple years, I would say about give or take, of not being friends with them because they kind of got married and then fell off the face of the earth for a bit and then resurfaced. Whenever we reconnected, I learned the whole accountability. I'm in charge of my friends. I'm in charge of the direction of my life. And when I met these people, it was kind of like meeting them again because they grew, I grew, and as we continued to grow together, I was like, these people are kind of making some bad choices. And I wasn't too involved in the relationship. Our relationship didn't have so much weight to it at the time. We weren't. There wasn't a huge, strong bond at that moment. So it was a perfect time to say, all right, I'm just going to take a few steps back. And they'll do their own thing, and they don't reach out to me. I don't reach out to them. The only way I will ever see them and talk to them is through friends of friends. And I give, whenever we were growing together, I was giving advice. They would come to me for advice. I'd say, do this. Probably should do this. Probably shouldn't do that. If you do that, bad things will happen. If you do this, less bad things will happen. But they do the bad thing, and bad things happen. And that's like self-destructive. Got to put that space there. But regardless, that's the example that I have. People who I grew with, and I put them in the upper rings. I had them in the 3rd or 2nd ring for a time, and there was something that happened, and I was like, okay, that's it. You're just kind of, you're down. Yeah, I'm not going to give you my tea. No more tea sharing for you, sir. You're cut off. And I just called it that, and since then, I haven't heard from them, and they haven't influenced my life in any way, because it was just drama. That's all it was. It wasn't like they wrecked my car. It wasn't a huge, big, life-changing, altering thing. It was just small drama, and I'm not a guy who enjoys drama. So I cut that tie, or I didn't fully cut it. I just pushed it really far down to the
Mhm.
outer ring, and now there's no trauma.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
And the opposite can be done as well. Like, the last ring is for acquaintances, people you're not close to, but you know of them, like friends of the friends you have. And for example, I don't know Justin or who's the other guy?
Oh, whoa, you know them.
Well, I know of
We
them.
had an escape room birthday party.
One escape room.
You know them.
I don't know them.
That's rude.
What's his favorite color?
I'm colorblind. I don't know.
I don't know if you even know them, but I don't know them, but they're close to him. And for my other friends, a lot of the mutual friends are like, oh, I know this guy and he knows this. The person that the mutual friend, the person that I didn't know but was friend of my friend, we got really close, and he moved up a couple circles, and that can happen, and the opposite can happen. You just have to. That's just you having to manage your friends and your social life. So you'll have to make the decision of whether you want to push it away or bring it in.
Yep. Yep. Like that. Push it
Mhm.
away or bring it in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So to a quick little recap on that.
Mm-hmm.
The inner ring, people I am most open and vulnerable with. People I give my tea to willingly and just about 100%. The second ring. In my life right now, like I said before, those are people Justin in tune, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those are also, I have a handful, like 3, maybe 4 other people on that ring, on that level, but they're there because they, oh, nope, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, it's just Justin in tune. Just Justin in tune and Kevin. Those are on the second ring.
Right.
And those are people who are growing and they've shown a certain level of something I found admirable. And I was like, hey, I want these people in my life so I can take on their habits and so I can learn what they've learned. I can surround my life and fill my life with positive people because that's also key. Do that and you'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
The next ring, those are relationships that I had to establish. They aren't necessarily friends, but I had them and I'm glad I have them.
Mm-hmm.
Those are also where I put people in my life who I met through like high school or work or like whenever I was a cashier at some rock shop, people would come in and we would talk and be open. That's where people would just like lay out their life to you, man. You're like
Which you shouldn't.
But you're like an underpaid psychologist there. It's just crazy.
I don't know how to save your marriage, man. I'm sorry.
I've had to say, I was like, yeah, man, you should give the baby back.
That'll be $8.99.
But I also put people that I've met throughout my life who we just haven't had the time to fully develop a bond. We talked here, there, sure, and we check in for holidays. We check in for birthdays. We'll check in every once in a while. But I'm not gonna stop drop everything for these people. Either we don't have time to develop a relationship. They aren't totally self-destructive. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I know you. Glad to know you. You've shown some like smartness. I'll keep you along, but I'm not gonna like drop everything for you right now. And the next one, those are. Oh, we're gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you can still help them, but these are the people that you're not forced to or obligated to. Like, if Tony needed something, I would drop everything and help him because he's the closest friend that I have. All right, well, don't take it too seriously. But like we said earlier, the closer you are to the center, the less people there are. You're not going to give every single time and attention. You're not going to drop everything for everyone. Everyone in the outer ring, there's probably hundreds of people. You're not going to drop 100 like things for
You're
that.
not going to give because there's nothing. You won't have anything to give.
No.
Like you're not going to give everything to everyone
It's
because
too
you'll have
harmful
nothing to
for
give.
you. Yeah.
Can I get? Never mind. I'm gonna stop doing that. I don't want to be like that guy.
The guy that gets left behind.
No. Anyways, that's. Those are also people like for me, the D&D and Magic the Gathering. Those are people that I have them in my house. These are people I would have in my house. Now, we can talk about that one day, like what that means. For me, it's a very big thing. I don't share where I live with most people, believe it or not. Not a lot of people know where I live. Good.
Yeah.
Only people that I want in my house, people I trust enough, people I respect enough, I enjoy my time around, people I'm genuine with. So that's kind of like the second second ring, third ring, moving up to second ring ish area.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I've put that category of people, friends that I share a hobby with, friends that I can be open with, but I'm not gonna
It's
show
up
up
to you if you want to.
I'm not gonna show up to D&D and be like, hey, yeah. Um, uh, Actually, I don't have an example, but
You're not gonna show up to D&D and be like, yeah, no,
here's
I
a
have
deep dark
clinical
se-
depression.
Yeah, here's a
no.
here's a
Just
deep.
say at that point, just say, hey, I got some things to deal with. You're not
Yeah.
gonna share everything.
Yeah, and of course, naturally things will happen if
Mhm.
if you have a relationship. If you have a relationship with someone,
Mhm.
over time, the opportunities will come to grow and develop that relationship.
Mhm.
You have to be aware that you want to grow that relationship. You have to be, or how that's worded weird. I might have to come back to that in the later
No idea
episodes.
what you're talking
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you have to be patient and allow the opportunities to come into your life. You cannot
Mhm.
force a relationship. We're in the next after I did just to retract back to the first part of this episode,
Okay.
saying that your two important choices are people you surround yourself with and the direction your life is going. Our
Mhm.
next episode is going to hit that. Following these two, we're
Mhm.
going to talk about friendships. Then we're going to talk about romantic relationships. And then we're going to talk about coworkers and other
Mhm.
type of relationships. But we're not going to say too much now. But a big thing with people is they want their dream girl. You know, they want their dream
guy.
I
Either
was
way.
getting there.
Sure.
I was getting there. They want that. They
Dream
want
person.
that person,
Mm-hmm.
that dreamy person. And what happens, especially like with Tinder, the big T, man, when they meet this stranger,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're doing the most intimate thing that you could ever give,
Mm-hmm.
and that's obviously doing the nasty. And you go away and you give that away to everyone
Mhm.
willy nilly. That has no value anymore.
Not special.
Not special,
Mm-mm.
just like Ahmed. And so you have
Why?
to be careful with how you approach relationships.
Mhm.
That is a big thing for me. I dated a coworker, and this is an example why you shouldn't date coworkers and
Uh-huh.
why you should keep work relationships to a
Mhm.
degree. I dated a coworker. Man, I loved it. She was awesome. It was a good time. But I had failed relationships in the past.
Mhm.
I had two major ones, and I learned from those. My dad helped me put those in perspective, and he helped me recover from those and helped me understand why they failed and what needs to get better. I am in no means ready for a romantic relationship. There's definitely I was not raised properly. I believe that parents should have to pass down their wisdom and knowledge and help the children that they raise become better human beings.
Mhm.
I was not given that fully. They tried, they failed, and look how I turned out. Great. But
Mm-hmm.
before I got the help of Calvin, my dad, before I got his insight and his guidance and his wisdom, I was kind of just on my own. I did my own thing, like I said before. And then that led me down two relationships that I failed. And after Calvin showed me the ropes, just a
Mhm.
little bit, I was like, oh, I know everything. Oh, I know
Yeah.
how to have a relationship now.
Mhm.
Let me have one. And I wouldn't and got one.
Yeah.
And,
Just because, for his example, just because he's not ready, even if you were raised well, even if you do have healthy relationships, that doesn't mean you're ready for a relationship. That's just something you have to decide for yourself. And that goes along with the whole circle thing. You have to make the decision of how close you want to be with this person, or even if you're ready to be close with this person.
yeah, and we'll be talking plenty about relationships come to
Yeah.
romantic episode
Mhm.
1, but I was like, yeah, I'm ready, Freddie, and I was not ready, Freddie.
No.
And so there's tension, there's problems, but
Mhm.
I was forcing that, and I wanted that, so I forced it. I mean, it wasn't just me; she also wanted the relationship, and we kind of built it, and that's the whole thing of like, oh, we're a happy-go-lucky couple, and it's
Mhm.
great, and then it's not
So it's
because
not. Yeah.
there's no foundation,
Mhm.
and that's what this offers. Your relationships, foundation. They
Mhm.
start as a stranger, an acquaintance, and then the next ring, and then the next ring, and there's time there for the bond to grow and solidify. Thank you for that word earlier. There's time for you to see what the person is about, because a huge thing is you get involved with these groups of people and you're like, oh, these are anarchists. Never mind. No, thank you.
That's a little extreme.
That is
but-
well. That's I'm trying to make it clear.
Mhm.
But you'll find things like, okay, this person is not who I thought. See you later,
Yeah.
alligator.
Mhm.
And that is why you want to have this chart. That is why we have this chart
Mhm.
here for you folks, is to help
Yeah.
and determine the influence your relationships have in your life.
And sometimes you got to get a little bit closer to know if you need to move them up or down. Like if you make a friend, they're in like the third circle, then they get closer and you realize, oh my goodness, he is a psychopath that is on the verge of killing someone.
Mine are extreme. What the heck? What the heck?
But like at that
Oh,
moment, you're going to be
no,
like, okay,
murder.
well, I don't know if we can be friends if you're going to
Kill people.
Yeah. Possible. That was the scenario I gave.
So yes, one should not. I guess one should be aware of the relationships they have in their life. That is what we're trying to hit here, out of the park with this one, which I feel we did to a degree. Unless you have anything to add to that, because I think we've covered most of those bases. Relationships being very influential in your life.
Mhm.
They have a lot of possibility. That's why you want to surround yourself
Mhm.
with good people, not bad seeds. Rotten tomatoes?
Apples.
Rotten
You know it
apples?
was apples. You knew it was apples. You're messing with me.
Yeah. And making sure that the relationships you're cultivating are healthy
Mhm.
and are not rushed, and they've had time to solidify into whatever it needs to be.
Mhm.
Because again, you can have a goal in mind to accomplish, or a romantic one, or a family one, yada yada.
Yeah.
Okay. So next episode, we're going to be talking about initial goal setting.
Mhm.
In these two, you have to have time to. You have to have time to take these relationships and identify them.
Mhm.
And what we're going to do next episode will identify an initial goal for you, and you can take these newly found, hopefully, healthy relationships. But if you find you have bad ones, you can take this bad relationship and see, okay, is this in alignment with where I want to go?
Mhm.
And usually it's not. So it's going to help you filter out what you don't need.
Mhm.
But what we said earlier about taking the time to think, please do that. That is
Mhm.
that is the most important thing. And I promise you, I will. I can't actually promise too much. I can't give you anything because we don't. But I will. I am a test. I live testament. I am testament. I'm proof.
Proof, sure.
But yeah,
I don't know what you're saying.
like I'm an example.
Say that.
I am definitely an example and living proof. Oh, that's the last will and testament. I don't know why I was thinking about that.
Just say an example.
I'm an example of what you can do.
Mhm.
I haven't done much. I have not done anything you cannot do.
Mhm.
All I did was listen to a smart man, which is me, but in this case it was my dad. I listened to his wisdom. And that's all I'm doing here, is I am taking everything I've learned throughout my life, however short it may be, and
Mhm.
trying to show you what I did wrong and what you should avoid and look out for. And that's what I think the beauty of podcasts are, and history and books and all that good jazz, is lessons are in there for you to listen to if you're
Mhm.
ready, if you're open to it. So if you don't take the time to think, you cannot say, oh, this doesn't work.
Mhm.
You can be like, oh, well, I made a dartboard, but like nothing changed. Well, okay, then you didn't make the right dartboard.
Yeah.
You didn't take the time to think.
When you're in the moment and you're having fun, you usually don't think, like for the most part, unless it's something extreme like murder, you usually don't think, oh, this might be a bad crowd to be with. But if you take the time separately, when you're not with those people, when you're not with the people who you think they're your friends or good friends, and say, oh, these might not be as good friends as I think they'll be, then you'll just be stuck in the situation you are.
Yeah. Whenever I was being a rotten apple with with my friends, I
Uh-huh.
was going out, I was lying, I was partying, not like heavy raves, but I was doing more than
Mm-hmm.
like a goody two shoes would do, and I was
Who's a goody two shoes?
you. It's not the wall behind you, bud. But I was doing things that were not healthy or productive, and in the moment, I was like, "Oh, baller! This is pretty cool, rad, dude." And I was loving it, and I was all about smoking pot and living it up, and fighting the man, and fighting the social norms, and not being a sheep.
You're
But
just gonna keep listing things.
I was, but when my dad and I would talk, and he would drive out to a park, after the sun's gone down, and we're just sitting, and he's talking, and I'm listening, I'm asking him questions, I'm picking his brain, and I'm trying to gather all I can, because I realized doing that multiple times, being caught in the multiple lies, being trying to do what I used to do and then it not working. I realized that my biological father was just an idiot, and the man I'm now calling my dad was a really smart man, and nothing really gets by him, sadly. And because of that, I've had to learn that people are smarter than me, which was a hard pill to swallow. I thought I was like the brainiest brain of the bunch.
Really?
I thought I was cool as there could be. And I was like, okay, everyone else is stupid.
I was the Einstein of my generation.
I was like, everyone else is just, I can do what I want. I can get around them. They'll never know because they're stupid. And that's what I thought with this dad of mine. And he taught me, hey, all this stuff you're doing, I see it. And I know what you're doing. And turned out other people saw it too. Other people knew what was going on. And when I was detached from the party scene, when I was attached from smoking pot, when I was attached and not in the moment, like Ahmed said, it's much easier to notice the wrong you're doing, cause you know what you should do. People know the right thing to do. I think that is true. I think people know what they should do, but they just still don't do it. People know what should be done, they just don't take the time or effort to actually go do it. That's a whole other conversation, but I do sincerely think if you take 30 minutes today to just think about the friends you have, you'll be in a better position come the following weeks. And I believe that's all I have to say on the matter. Do you have anything to say on that matter?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. We'll be shooting next week the episode on initial goal setting. You can find... Oh, I need to start doing this in the beginning. You can find us on JPK Broadcasting Network. They have a YouTube channel. They have Twitch. They have...
A website?
Point up. Oh.
At the thing.
Oh, other way.
The other way.
There we go.
The giant
Boom.
website.
They have the website.
Yeah.
You can also find us at voyagespath.us. We have a Twitter. We have a Instagram, Facebook, maybe a TikTok in the near future. I'm trying to be... we're going to try and be a little more interactive and kick that game up. I've set that as my goal, which we'll talk about that next time. But yeah, one of my goals is to be a little more interactive and getting out there and trying to bring in some more viewers. So watch out for that. If you need to contact us, if you have any questions, if you want to pick our brain, if you want to ask us a certain question, a certain topic to hit, reach out. I believe our emails are also, yes, they are. I'm not going to try and do that. But underneath our names, we have our emails. You can reach us out there, or I'm running all of these social media platforms. So if you want to just hit me up directly, just hit up Voyages Path on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and maybe one day TikTok.
Maybe.
Well, it's super, I'm not going to talk to you about that now.
Yeah.
But please, take your time, reach out, think about this, and we'll be solidifying this as our podcast and episodes go. This is not the only time we're gonna hit this. Episodes will flow, and you'll be able to connect the dots, hopefully, if we do it right. But repetition is key here. Consistency is key. So we're taking the first few steps. We have a long way to go. So thank you for listening, and farewell.
All right. Happy New
Baller.
Year.
Well, that's Oh, 17 days ago, bud.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
Yes, they do.
They do. Yeah, you're right.
Happy New Year. Mwah.
But like, last episode was last year, and you could have been like, oh, Happy New Year, it's the new year.